My name is Maya. One afternoon, I opened a letter that said I owed money for a car I had never driven, and somehow my signature was on it. It didn't come from a stranger. If something similar has happened to you, share your experience in the comments. The envelope looked official enough to slow my steps. Thick paper, return address printed in neat blocks, a company logo I recognized but had never dealt with, the kind of mail people don't open casually. The letter stated that I was past due on a vehicle lease totaling just under $40,000. My name appeared at the top, my address, a contract number, a payment schedule that showed missed deadlines. Near the bottom, a paragraph explained the next step if the balance remained unresolved: vehicle recovery. No confusion followed. No moment of wondering whether it was a mistake. The paperwork was too specific for that. Someone had filled this out carefully. The phone number was bolded. I dialed it while standing near my car, keys still in hand. After 2 automated menus and a short wait, a woman answered. Her voice sounded trained to stay neutral. She asked for my name. I gave it. She asked for the contract number. I read it. A pause followed, long enough for typing. "Yes, Ms. Reynolds," she said. "That lease is active and in default." I said I had never leased a car. Another pause. More typing. "The signature matches what we have on file." I asked, "Whose file?" "Yours." I asked where the car was. She gave me an address I knew by heart. Before hanging up, she added, "You'll receive further communication by mail." Then the line went dead. Not abruptly, cleanly, as if the conversation had reached its natural end. The drive to my mother's place took less than 20 minutes. Traffic cooperated. Every red light felt temporary. Nothing slowed the decision. Her car sat in the driveway, newer than anything I owned. The model name was printed on the back in chrome letters. The door opened after the second knock. Linda Reynolds smiled at first, then stopped. "What's wrong?" she asked. The letter unfolded between us. She didn't read it all. Her eyes went straight to the number. "Oh," she said, "that." The explanation arrived quickly. She needed a car for work. Her credit wasn't strong enough. The dealership suggested using family. My name came up. The paperwork was urgent. There hadn't been time to ask. "I was going to tell you," she said. "I just needed to get settled first." I asked how my signature ended up on the contract. She shrugged. "You've signed things before." I said, "This wasn't one of them." Her tone sharpened. "I raised you. This helps both of us." I pointed out the overdue payments. "That's temporary." I pointed out the recovery notice. She waved it off. "That's just how they talk." Voices carried farther than expected. A neighbor slowed while walking past. Another garage door stopped halfway down. "You're being dramatic," she said. "I needed the car to keep my job. You'd do the same." I said I wouldn't. Her face tightened. "So you'd rather let your own mother struggle?" I said this wasn't about struggle. The words came out sharper than planned. She crossed her arms. "It's just paperwork. No one's getting hurt." The conversation didn't stretch after that. There was nothing left to exchange that wouldn't repeat itself. The drive back felt shorter. The letter rested on the passenger seat, folded now, less official, more personal. At a stoplight, the last line caught my eye. Notice of repossession pending. Work started the same way it always did. Badge swipe, desk chair pulled back, emails stacked overnight. But the screen in front of me didn't cooperate. A credit monitoring alert sat at the top of my inbox, flagged urgent. Clicking it opened a score I barely recognized. The number hadn't slipped. It had dropped. A note below explained the change in polite, clipped language. New delinquent account. High balance. Risk updated. The system thanked me for staying informed. A browser tab closed. Another opened. The credit report refreshed twice before it settled. Dates lined up. The lease, the missed payments. Each item was time-stamped like it had been waiting its turn. A shadow fell across the desk. My manager didn't sit. "Everything okay?" she asked, eyes drifting to the report. I minimized the screen too late. HR flagged something, she said. Nothing formal, just awareness. You want to tell me what's going on? The word awareness landed heavier than it should have. It's being handled, came out. She nodded, already stepping back. Just keep me posted. That was it. No warning, no threat, just a record that had reached beyond my name. The phone started vibrating 10 minutes later. An aunt left a voicemail that opened with concern and closed with advice. An uncle texted a question mark, followed by a reminder about family loyalty. A cousin sent a screenshot of something Linda had posted and deleted. No names, just a complaint about betrayal. Different voices, same conclusion. A longer message arrived from Linda not long after. The notification preview showed the waveform stretching across the screen. The first 30 seconds held steady crying. Then her voice found strength. I didn't raise you to be like this, she said, after everything I did for you. The message ran close to 4 minutes. No pause, no request, just a list of sacrifices and a soft suggestion that decent daughters don't involve outsiders. The delete button worked without protest. At lunch, another call slipped through. A neighbor, apparently. She asked if everything was all right and mentioned a tow truck seen earlier that morning, parked a few houses down, waiting for something that hadn't happened yet. Probably nothing, she added. Just thought you'd want to know. Back at the desk, an email from payroll arrived, asking whether I planned to update any direct deposit information. Nothing more, nothing less. Systems rarely over-explain. The shift ended without ceremony. Feet carried me to the parking lot on habit alone. Daniel stood near the fence by the employee lot, wiping his hands on a rag. He worked sales at the used dealership next door and borrowed our overflow parking when things got busy. You look like paperwork ran you over, he said. The letter came out of my bag, then the report, then the text messages. Daniel listened without interrupting, nodding once when the amount came up. When it was done, he leaned back against a car door and asked one question. If the name on that contract wasn't your mother's, he said, what would you do? No answer followed. He didn't wait for one. People confuse need with permission, he added. The forms don't. A customer called his name from the lot. Daniel tossed the rag aside and headed back to work, leaving the thought where it landed. The evening stretched on without quiet. A group text lit up between relatives. Someone suggested mediation. Another recommended prayer. One person asked whether a lawyer would make things worse. The suggestion came with a smile emoji. Paperwork spread across the kitchen table later that night. The lease agreement printed from the company portal showed a clean signature. Payment schedules stacked neatly behind it. A scanned copy of my driver's license sat attached, uploaded months earlier. Dates mattered. So did files. An email from the leasing company arrived while documents were being sorted. It confirmed receipt of my earlier call and promised follow-up communication. The message ended with a survey link. How satisfied were you with your experience today? A browser window opened to the identity theft reporting site. Each field asked for specifics: name, address, description of the incident, relationship to the person who committed it. A drop-down menu offered choices. Family member appeared between coworker and unknown party, as if it were just another category. The cursor hovered. Another message buzzed through, shorter this time. Please don't do this, Linda wrote. We can fix it ourselves. The cursor didn't move. The page refreshed once, impatient. Paperwork slid into a neat stack. The agreement went on top. The credit report followed. Screenshots filled the rest. The button waited, labeled clearly, framed by instructions that promised review within a set number of business days. Nothing dramatic happened next. The report went through before sunrise. A confirmation number appeared on the screen, followed by a paragraph explaining next steps. The language stayed neutral, careful not to assume intent. Identity fraud investigations could take time. Outcomes depended on documentation. Cooperation was appreciated. A separate form followed for the credit bureaus. Each asked the same questions in slightly different order: name, address, nature of dispute, relationship to the person responsible. Family member appeared again in the drop-down, still sitting there like an ordinary option. A representative from the leasing company called mid-morning. His voice carried the practiced calm of someone reading from a script that covered every scenario. "We'll open an investigation," he said. "If fraud is confirmed, the account will be removed from your record. The vehicle may be subject to recovery." "May," I repeated. "That depends on findings." "How long?" "Could be weeks." The line stayed open after he finished, waiting. Nothing more came. An email arrived an hour later with an attachment labeled "Supporting Documents Requested." A checklist followed. Copy of ID, signature sample, sworn statement. Submission window, 48 hours. The clock had already started. While pulling older records from storage, a utility bill surfaced from years back. Electric service. A shared account. My name listed first, Linda's second. The date fell before I'd moved out, back when she handled most of the mail. The amount had been small, the memory barely there. Another bill followed, same setup, different month. The pattern settled quickly. A call cut through before the stack finished forming. A cousin spoke fast, lowering her voice, as if that mattered over the phone. "She's trying to transfer the car," she said, "talking about selling it or putting it in someone else's name. I thought you should know." That changed the pace. Linda's messages shifted that afternoon. No crying, no long voice notes, just text. "If you keep this going, don't call me again." Another followed minutes later. "You're choosing paperwork over family." The third arrived without pause. "Do whatever you want." Silence held after that, heavy but incomplete. A printer hummed in the corner of the apartment, working through pages with mechanical patience. Each document slid into the tray, clean and orderly. The sworn statement required specific phrasing, dates, facts, no commentary. A notary stamp would follow later. An email from the leasing company landed while the last page printed. "Your case is under review." No name signed it, no phone number attached, just a reference number and a reminder not to contact customer support for updates. The system preferred distance. The next day brought more instructions. Upload portal link, accepted file types, maximum size, a reminder to label everything clearly. Another notice added urgency. Failure to submit within the window could delay resolution. A family group chat lit up again, quieter this time. One message suggested patience. Another said Linda had always struggled. A third asked whether I'd considered how this would look. None asked whether the paperwork was wrong. At the notary's office, the clerk glanced at the statement, then at my ID. "Rough situation," she said, stamping the page with professional sympathy. "Happens more than you'd think." The stamp thudded once. Final. Files uploaded without issue. The portal accepted each document with a green check mark. A progress bar filled steadily, then disappeared. A confirmation email followed seconds later. "Thank you for your submission." The tone stayed polite, efficient, almost cheerful. Late afternoon brought one more call from the leasing company. Different voice, same structure. "The vehicle has been flagged," she said. "Status pending." "For what?" I asked. "Potential recovery." "Is that confirmed?" "That depends on the investigation." The word again. Investigation. A process that moved forward whether people agreed or not. Evening settled into its usual rhythm. Dinner plans canceled. Laundry folded. A text from Daniel checked in briefly. "Any movement?" "Some," I wrote back. "Paper beats feelings," he replied. The phone buzzed once more before bed. An automated message from the leasing company this time. No greeting, no explanation. "Asset status updated, subject to repossession." No punctuation at the end, just the statement. The phone rested face down on the table while the dishes dried. The message stayed unread, technically. The meaning didn't require opening. Folders slid back into the drawer. The printer powered down. Tomorrow's alarm was set. Nothing dramatic followed. No call, no knock. Just the knowledge that something had shifted, quietly, somewhere outside the reach of family conversations. Sleep came in pieces. Morning arrived on schedule. The phone lit up again before coffee finished brewing. The subject line was short: update on your case. An email arrived before breakfast finished cooling. Asset recovery scheduled. No greeting, no explanation, just a case number and a timestamp. The message looked the same as every other automated update, as if the subject line could have applied to a lost package or a delayed shipment. A call followed minutes later. Linda's name flashed, disappeared, then returned. The phone vibrated across the table while coffee spilled over the rim of the mug. The call went unanswered. The second one didn't. Or the third. By the time the fourth came through, the voicemail notification was already there. Her voice cracked at the start, then sharpened as it went on. "They're taking it," she said. "Right now. There's a truck. People are watching." Another message came in before the first finished uploading. "You did this." A third followed, louder. "You ruined my life." The words came fast, tangled with accusations. The blame shifted between the company, the paperwork, and me. The system was unfair. The timing was cruel. None of this was supposed to happen. A neighbor's voice cut into one of the recordings asking what was going on. Someone else laughed nervously in the background. Another person said the word tow like it explained everything. A video appeared in the family group chat not long after. Shaky footage, Linda standing near the driveway. The car hooked, lifted, adjusted. A voice behind the camera muttered something about it being a shame. No one commented, no emojis, no advice. The leasing company sent a receipt while the truck was still likely in transit. Vehicle recovered, condition pending, inventory reference attached. The tone stayed balanced, neutral, almost grateful. Another line thanked me for my cooperation. The timing landed wrong enough to feel intentional, even though it wasn't. Calls from Linda stopped after that. The silence felt louder than the shouting had been. Family messages slowed, then stalled completely. One aunt sent a single text. "Let's give everyone some space." No one argued. No one volunteered to fix anything. A credit alert pinged again that afternoon. No improvement, no correction, just a reminder that the account remained under review. The system wasn't done. Work passed in fragments, tasks completed, emails answered. A coworker asked whether everything was okay, then nodded without waiting for detail. People have limits for other people's problems. Daniel texted once. "Guess it happened." "Looks like it," came back. "Hard part's never the truck," he replied. Evening brought another email from the leasing company. This one included more lines, more bullet points. Recovery timeline, next steps, a note stating that investigation findings could impact future actions. No outcome promised, no timeline guaranteed. Linda didn't reach out again. Neither did anyone else. The days after the recovery didn't settle. They layered. One message arrived before the last one finished making sense. Family conversations split into private threads, each carrying its own version of events. Some names disappeared from my phone altogether. A letter showed up midweek, handwritten. Linda's return address in the corner, careful and deliberate. The envelope carried the weight of effort. The letter didn't accuse, it cataloged. Age, health issues, doctor visits I hadn't known about, medications listed by name, as if documentation might change jurisdiction. The closing line circled back to sacrifice, the kind that couldn't be verified but demanded recognition. A text followed later that night, longer than the letter. "I don't know how much time I have left." Another came before a reply formed. "You'll regret this." The phone stayed still. An email from the leasing company arrived early the next morning. This one marked required action. Additional sworn statement needed. Deadline attached. The language stayed precise, almost courteous. Failure to comply may delay resolution. The system never raised its voice. Paperwork spread again, but this time it felt different. Less sorting, more confirming. Each form asked the same thing in a slightly firmer way. Dates. Facts. a declaration that everything submitted was true under penalty of law. The phrase penalty of law appeared twice, bolded once. Daniel called while the printer worked through another stack. "You sure you want to keep going?" he asked. The question wasn't gentle, but it wasn't judgmental either. "This stops being a family matter once it reaches affidavits," he said. "There's no soft exit after that." "I know. Just saying. People think silence fixes things. It doesn't. Paper does." The call ended without advice. None was needed. A voicemail from Linda arrived while signing the forms. Her tone had shifted again, steadier now, almost rehearsed. "I hope you're happy," she said, "because I won't forget this." No response followed. The printer finished its job and shut itself down. At the notary's office, the clerk flipped through the pages, checking for missing initials. She slid the stack back once, pointing to a blank line. "Sign here," she said, "and here." The stamp came down with a sound that suggested finality without meaning it. "Good luck," she added, the way people do when outcomes aren't theirs to influence. Outside, a missed call waited. An uncle this time. The message came through immediately. "We're stepping back from this," he said. "It's gotten too serious." Serious wasn't the word used before. An automated reminder buzzed an hour later, thanking me for timely submission and confirming receipt of sworn documentation. The email included a reference number and an estimate. Processing times may vary. The family group chat updated once more. A cousin announced she was muting the thread. Someone else reacted with a thumbs up. Linda didn't appear at all. Dinner came late, dishes stacked early. The phone rested nearby, face up, as if something else might arrive that mattered. Another letter from Linda came 2 days later, this one shorter. No details, just a line about forgiveness, and another about consequences. The envelope went into the drawer with the rest. A call from the leasing company followed that afternoon. A man introduced himself, gave a badge number, and thanked me for my cooperation. "We've escalated the case," he said. "Additional findings are possible." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means we keep looking." The line stayed open after that, waiting. No reassurance offered. Work continued around all of it. Meetings held, deadlines met. A manager asked whether I needed time off. The answer came back automatic. "I'm fine." The words were accepted at face value. Back home, the final affidavit sat on the table, unsigned. The language didn't change from the others. It just made the stakes harder to ignore. A declaration, a confirmation, a statement that once submitted couldn't be revised without consequence. The pen rolled between my fingers while the clock moved forward. Daniel's earlier words returned uninvited. No soft exit. The signature took one motion. The ink dried fast. At the notary, the clerk recognized me. "Back again," she said, not unkindly. "Last one," I replied. She didn't comment, just stamped the page and slid it back. The upload portal accepted the file without delay. A green check mark appeared. Then another confirmation email. "Your sworn statement has been received. Thank you for your cooperation." The call came during a work break, the kind that starts with formal identification and ends without reassurance. "Ms. Reynolds," the investigator said, "we've identified another transaction associated with your information." The phrasing stayed careful. Associated, not accused, not concluded. "What kind of transaction?" I asked. "A utility account," he replied. "Opened several years ago. Closed without dispute at the time." The detail landed sideways. The account had been small, ordinary, the sort of thing no one questions when bills get paid and lights stay on. "It wasn't reported then," he added, "but it appears connected." Connected was enough to widen the file. A follow-up email arrived minutes later, attaching a notice titled "Expanded Scope of Review." The message explained that once patterns emerged, the review couldn't stay narrow. Additional documentation might be requested. Timelines could extend. The system thanked me again for cooperation. Linda responded that afternoon through counsel. A letter arrived by email, letterhead clean and confident. The argument centered on consent, family arrangements, shared responsibilities, an implied understanding between mother and daughter that never needed to be written down. The word implied did a lot of work. A copy went out to several relatives. The message didn't ask for support, it assumed it. Phones lit up across the evening. An aunt asked whether there had ever been an agreement. A cousin wondered aloud if this was being taken too far. An uncle sent a single sentence. This doesn't look good for anyone. Another email followed from the investigator, this one shorter. Please do not contact your mother regarding the case. The instruction felt unnecessary and absolute at the same time. Daniel checked in later, voice steady. That's how it goes, he said. Once they see a pattern, they don't unsee it. Does it stop? I asked. Not fast. Linda's attorney requested a call. The tone stayed polite, professional. We're exploring resolution options, he said. Given the family relationship, there may be room to clarify intent. Clarify how? I asked. He paused. Context. Context had never shown up on a billing statement. Another message arrived from the leasing company, copying the investigator. The subject line read, Supplemental Findings. It listed dates, amounts, account numbers. No conclusions, just data. A credit bureau sent a notice confirming that the dispute remained active. No changes yet. Processing ongoing. The order of events mattered more than the volume. Each update pushed the situation forward without deciding it. A formal letter reached the family the next day, addressed individually. It explained that an investigation was underway involving identity misuse. Cooperation might be requested. Interference could complicate outcomes. No names attached. No accusations printed. Silence followed in places where opinions had been loud before. Linda didn't reach out directly. The attorney did instead, offering another call, this time with a mediator present. The idea was framed as de-escalation. The goal is to preserve relationships, he said. The goal, I replied, is accuracy. He noted that and moved on. The investigator scheduled a follow-up interview. Date, time, location. A reminder to bring identification. Will this affect my credit? I asked. Potentially, he said, depending on findings. The answer stayed consistent. Nothing promised, nothing denied. Work continued around all of it. Meetings started and ended. A project deadline moved up. Someone brought donuts to the break room. Life insisted on routine. At home, another packet arrived by mail. More forms. Another sworn statement requested, this one acknowledging awareness of prior accounts. A checkbox asked whether the activity had been authorized. The space next to no waited. Linda's attorney sent one more message, shorter this time. We believe this can still be handled privately. The investigator's email arrived minutes later with an attachment titled Interview Schedule. The timing didn't feel coincidental, even if it was. Daniel texted a single line. Paper keeps winning. The interview date sat on the calendar now, unmovable. The case had grown beyond a car. It had taken on history. Dinner happened late. Dishes waited. The phone buzzed with a notification from the investigator's office, confirming receipt of the signed form. Thank you, the email read. Will continue. No closure offered. No reassurance included. The calendar reminder stayed highlighted for the following week, a time slot blocked out like any other obligation. The day ended with another system message, brief and exact. Next steps attached. The file remained open. Morning started with phone calls, not apologies. Each one followed a checklist. Credit bureau first, case number verified, dispute status confirmed. The representative read from a screen, pausing only to ask whether I consented to recorded lines. Yes, came back, steady. The next call went to the leasing company. Different department now. A man introduced himself, thanked me for patience, then explained that the account no longer belonged to my record. He said it like a correction, not a favor. You'll see updates reflected within a few business days, he added. The timeline sounded familiar. The direction felt new. The investigator's office followed. Shorter call, fewer qualifiers, a confirmation that statements had been reviewed, another that the file showed consistency across submissions. The phrase "moving toward resolution" appeared once, then disappeared into procedural language. No congratulations, no relief offered, just motion. Linda's attorney reached out late morning with a request for written acknowledgement. The message stated that his client would confirm the signature was not mine. The phrasing avoided the word forged. It leaned on responsibility instead. I replied with a single line, "Please submit through counsel." The response came back quickly. Understood. That was the last direct exchange. A family thread flickered back to life, then faded again. Someone asked whether things were settled. No one answered. Another person left the chat without comment. The noise drained away without closure, like a room emptying after a meeting that ran too long. At work, the credit alert updated again. The number nudged upward. Not fixed. Correcting. A note explained the removal of disputed items pending final confirmation. The system thanked me for monitoring my financial health. Lunch happened without interruption. A coworker mentioned weekend plans. Someone complained about parking. Ordinary details reclaimed their space. Daniel texted in the afternoon. "Looks like the tide turned." "Slowly," I wrote back. "Slow counts." The dealership sat a few blocks from work. Not the one next door, a smaller place, with a row of older models and handwritten price tags taped to windows. The salesman didn't push. He asked what I needed, not what I wanted. "Something reliable," I said. "No surprises," he replied. The paperwork stayed thin. Cash down, clean title, my name only. He slid the keys across the desk after the last signature dried. "Congratulations," he said, then caught himself. Or, "Good luck." Both felt unnecessary. The car wasn't impressive. It started without argument. The radio worked. The mirrors adjusted. That was enough. Another email arrived while pulling back onto the street. A credit bureau confirmation. Items removed. Score recalculated. The note ended with an invitation to take a survey. How satisfied were you with the resolution process? The question lingered, unanswered. Linda's acknowledgement came through counsel the next day. A formal statement. One paragraph admitting that authorization had not been granted. Another accepting responsibility for the consequences. No explanation attached. No apology requested. The investigator sent a brief update after that. "We've received confirmation," the message said. "Final review underway." Family messages stopped entirely. No one asked how I was doing. No one argued anymore. Avoidance replaced opinion. Work settled back into routine. Meetings ended on time. Projects moved forward. A manager thanked me for staying focused. The comment felt misplaced, but harmless. The credit report refreshed again. Another small adjustment. Another line cleared. The system updated itself without ceremony. Daniel called once more. "Guess that's it," he said. Almost. Almost's better than before. The final notice arrived late afternoon. No subject line flare, no legal jargon stretched thin. Case nearing closure. The email outlined next steps, which were none. Records would be archived. No further action required unless new information surfaced. The system thanked me one last time. Dinner came from a drive-through. The receipt listed items correctly. The total matched the screen. Small confirmations carried more weight than expected. Paperwork slid back into the drawer, thinner now. The notary stamp no longer needed. The printer stayed off. The new car key rested by the door. No one else's name attached. No history layered onto it. Another message appeared before sleep. The investigator's office confirmed that final documentation had been sent to all parties. The case status would update accordingly. The wording didn't celebrate, it concluded. The phone stayed face up on the table while the house settled. No new calls arrived, no questions followed. Control returned without announcement, carried by forms, timestamps, and the steady rhythm of systems doing exactly what they were designed to do. The final notice arrived without ceremony. No envelope worth saving, no signature at the bottom, just a subject line that read, "Closed," and a body that thanked me for cooperation. The message explained that the findings had been recorded permanently. It used the word "retained" twice. Linda's name appeared once, paired with an identification number. Mine showed up in a different section marked "cleared." The system wished me well. Another email followed from a credit bureau confirming the update. Accounts removed, scores adjusted, monitoring resumed. A reminder to review reports annually closed it out, as if this belonged to routine maintenance. Linda didn't reach out, neither did anyone else. The attorney sent a final acknowledgement through counsel, stating that no further contact was required. The wording avoided emotion entirely. A clean exit. Family messages stayed dormant. No one tried to broker peace. No one asked for forgiveness on anyone's behalf. The silence wasn't dramatic, it was procedural. At work, the day moved like any other. A project deadline shifted, a calendar invite popped up, someone asked whether I wanted coffee. The answer didn't matter. Payroll sent a confirmation that direct deposit remained unchanged. Benefits emailed an open enrollment reminder. The machinery of regular life continued, without reference to what had just finished. Daniel texted once, "All wrapped?" "Yes." "Told you, paper wins." That was the end of that conversation. Another message arrived from the leasing company, thanking me for patience during the investigation. It confirmed that all obligations had been resolved and that my account reflected no outstanding activity. A link invited feedback. How likely are you to recommend our services? The question stayed unanswered. Gratitude felt unnecessary. Accuracy had already done the job. Linda's consequences didn't arrive with announcements. They appeared through absence. No one asked her to co-sign. No one forwarded forms. Conversations that once assumed access now stopped short. A cousin mentioned, indirectly, that she'd been declined on a rental application because her mother's name raised flags. The information came without accusation, delivered like a weather update. "I figured you should know," she said. "I do," came back. There was no apology attached, none expected. A week passed, then another. The credit alert stopped pinging. The number held steady. Not perfect, clean enough. The drawer that once held stacks of paperwork now carried a single folder labeled "Closed." It didn't get opened again. Work days stayed predictable. Meetings filled their time slots. Reports went out on schedule. A supervisor thanked me for consistency, a word that had gained weight without changing meaning. Finances tightened by choice, not fear. Spending tracked, savings rebuilt. No explanations offered to anyone who asked why the old car was gone or why weekends looked quieter. Questions arrived less often once answers stopped coming. Linda's name didn't show up on the phone. No voicemail waited. No letters arrived. The absence settled into place like furniture no longer needed. One afternoon after work, I stopped at the same place where breaks had once been spent scrolling through alerts. The lot was busy, ordinary. People loaded groceries. Someone argued about parking. A cart rolled free and bumped a curb. The routine felt earned. Keys came out, the used car unlocked without complaint. The engine turned over cleanly. The radio stayed off. A final email landed as the car eased out. Case archived. No instructions followed, no warning attached. The message didn't congratulate or caution. It simply closed the loop. Traffic moved, the road stayed familiar. Nothing waited to be confronted or explained. Work would continue the next day. Bills would arrive with the right name on them. Systems would keep records the way they always do. The identity that had been borrowed returned without fanfare. No victory attached, no celebration required. Just ownership restored and the space to leave without carrying anything else.